I live for the day, Charlie, when you'll know what I've been through.
Monica, what are you talking about?
The cells, the bars, the disgrace, especially the disgrace. I want you to know the hell I've lived through.
Monica!
God, no, don't. Please, don't kill me. Please, don't kill me.
She's dead.
Stay out, everybody. Sally, call a doctor.
Dr. Thursby.
Stay back, please. Stay back. Get me an ambulance. Hurry.
What happened?
Somebody shot her.
This gun's been fired. One shot.
I didn't fire it, Commissioner. Doesn't anybody believe me?
I want that room thoroughly investigated. Policemen on guard around the clock. No one will go in and out of that room unless I know about it. I want the guest list, the name of the caterer, photographer, and florist, and anybody else involved in that reception, no matter how remote.
Commissioner, I didn't shoot her.
I know you didn't, Charlie.
You do? How?
You just told me.
Oh. Is that all you have to go on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not much, is it, sir?
You're her husband?
Her ex-husband, yes.
We did everything we could.
I'm sorry, Sergeant.
You send the necessary papers to my office, Doctor.
Sure.
Well, I guess we'd better go down to headquarters and book me.
Sergeant Mack would never have you arrested.
Well, I'm afraid he has no choice, Mrs. McMillan.
He's right, Sally.
I was afraid he was.
I see Monica Fontaine, please.
I'm sorry, sir. She died a few minutes ago.
I bet this is the first time a cop ever turned in a report on himself. Well, there it is, sir, from start to finish.
Sure that's everything?
Yes, sir, that's exactly the way it happened.
Something's got to be missing.
It's all there, sir. I had invited Monica to La Palette for drinks that evening. You and Mrs. McMillan were going to meet me there.
I wonder what she's like.
What makes you think we're meeting a she?
Drinks at La Poulette? Come on, Mac. That's a little steep for Sergeant Enright unless he's trying to impress somebody. He did say he invited us.
Oh, yes, he was very clear on that point. But he has reason to celebrate tonight. How often do you get named Cop of the Year?
Well, probably not more than once a year.
Well, you haven't changed at all, Charlie. And that's as depressing a statement as I ever hoped to make.
Well, I'm sorry if I disappoint you, Monica. You look very good.
If I do, it's no thanks to you. I'm held together by a thread, Charlie. A thread. These last 15 years have been quite a trip. Quite a trip. But as rough as it's been, I'd take it over life with you again, sweetheart.
The Enright Party. Yes. They are very much here, Commissioner.
Thanks, Alonzo.
You see, I was right. She is a she.
Look at that face. Not one real thought in it. Will you stop grinning at me, Charlie?
I'm not grinning, Monica. That's the way my mouth is.
I had forgotten how much I always hated it, and every other part of you.
Hello, Sergeant. Congratulations. We're so pleased. Nobody deserves an award more than you do.
Thank you. Commissioner, Mrs. McMillan, this is Monica Fontaine.
Commissioner of Police? Well, what is this, a cop convention? You know I always hated cops, Charlie. I can't imagine why anyone would want to give an award to one.
I suppose you're wondering who Monica is.
Oh, no, we'd forgotten all about her.
Wish I could. Guess I never will. I even kept hoping that you'd come with us to the ceremony tonight.
You know, Sergeant, she doesn't seem quite right for you. How did you happen to meet her?
She's my wife.
Your wife?
My ex-wife, yeah.
I didn't know you were married, Charlie.
Well, I've been divorced a lot longer than I was married. Monica left me 15 years ago. I saw her today again for the first time. You know, it's funny. When she phoned me this morning, I thought it was to congratulate me on my award. But of course, she never even knew about it.
She live here?
No, Los Angeles. She came up here for the wedding of her niece. Our niece. I'm sorry I had to put you two through all this.
Don't apologize, Sergeant. I'm just glad you didn't have to go through it alone. You might not have made it to the ceremony in time.
Hey, that's right. The cameras are waiting.
Oh, no, I'd forgotten about all those cameras. I'd almost rather face Monica again.
You must be a very happy man tonight, Sergeant.
Oh, yeah, real happy.
Oh, well, how about letting us see some of it?
Oh, you are. I'm grinning right now, actually.
Oh, really?
That's my grin.
Poor Sergeant Enright. He's still in love with his wife. It's right there on his face, isn't it?
Policeman of the Year.
I'd say no what makes you say that, but I'm sure you're going to tell me anyway.
Well, why else would he want to see her again? Then she had to go and ruin his big moment. She didn't even congratulate him.
You know, it's a shame you're so happily married.
Gentlemen,
You are, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Because you have the makings of a great ex-wife.
Well, that's something you'll never know for sure.
Good night, everybody. Okay, come on, let's go this way. All right, fellas, come on, let's get a few shots over here. Excuse me, honey, we'll just step right back. Come on, you get over there. All right, get around here. Now, when you shake hands with them, go ahead. Shake hands, the two of you. That's it. All right, fellas, go ahead.
I really don't mind working this weekend, sir, if there's something I can do for you.
I thought your niece's wedding was tomorrow.
Yes, sir, it is. But I only have to put in an appearance.
I take it you're not looking forward to the festivities.
Well, I was looking forward to it, sir. I'm very fond of my niece. It's just that I'm afraid that a wedding will bring out the worst in Monica.
That wasn't the worst we saw last night?
No, no, sir. Monica was just getting started last night. You see, sir, Monica believes that our marriage is to blame for everything that's gone wrong in her life. She thinks I'm the one that stood in the way of her career.
From what I saw last night, I can't imagine anyone standing in her way.
Well, I did refuse to move to Hollywood, sir. We were both very young. She thought all you had to do was to move there to become a star.
So she went without you?
Mm-hmm. But I thought that once she found out what it was like, she'd come right back.
But how can she blame you for her failure? You didn't stop her from going, did you?
Well, she said that if I had believed in her talent, I would have gone with her. Well, if her own husband didn't believe in her, how could she be expected to convince strangers?
Well, she's gotten you to swallow that argument. She's a pretty good actress. Look, why don't you just go down to the wedding and get it over with? Hey, I got an idea. Why don't I drop by the reception, have some assignment for you, and get you off the hook?
Well, I couldn't ask you to do that, sir.
No, you couldn't. That's why I offered. Well, I think we better find the cop of the year. Bigger office.
Uncle Charlie, I'm so glad you could come. I don't think I really would have felt married if you hadn't been here.
Well, you have all it takes to make it legal right here.
Oh, and we're so proud of your award. Except in my book, Uncle Charlie, you're cop of the century.
Well, I'd like to borrow that book when you finish reading it.
We'll see you later.
Okay, you look beautiful.
I guess he's had enough. We better get him out of there.
He hasn't been in there 20 minutes yet. You know, he's probably enjoying himself just because you don't like wedding receptions.
Sally, there isn't a man in there who's enjoying himself. Come on.
Well, after all these years, there must be Captain Enright, or Major, or whatever it is they call cops.
No, it's just Sergeant, Mr. Fontaine.
Just Sergeant? Wow. I always said you'd never amount to much, Charlie, didn't I, huh?
Yes, you always did.
Say, have you seen Monica since she's been back in town?
We had a drink together.
You drinking now, Charlie?
No, not really.
There's just been no improvement in you at all, has there been?
No, sir, I guess there hasn't been.
Sergeant.
Commissioner, Mrs. McMillan, what a nice surprise to see you here.
I'm afraid I have some bad news, Sergeant. I'm going to have to pull you away from here. That is, if your friends will excuse you.
Oh, I don't know anyone here who'd miss him at all.
Mr. Fontaine, I'd like you to meet Commissioner and Mrs. McMillan. This is my former father-in-law.
Let's just say I'm Monica's father, huh? Let it go at that.
Yes, I think that's enough to say. We met your daughter yesterday.
And she certainly does take after you.
Well, I guess we better be going. I'm sure what work there is. Can't wait.
Oh, excuse me. I'm terribly sorry.
No, it's my fault. I walked right into...
Of course it was your fault, Charlie. And before you go knocking down any more professional men, let me introduce you to this one. This is Dr. Thursby. He came with Monica. And this doctor is Monica's first mistake, Sergeant Charles Enright. His friends are Commissioner and Mrs. McMillan.
Nice wedding.
Yes, it is.
Well, they're not guests here, you know. They're just collecting funds for the policeman's ball.
It's nice to meet you, Doctor.
Sure is. Oh, look it.
What's that? Oh, thank you, Mrs. McMillan. If I walk around with a feather on my lapel, people will think I'm a vet.
Well, I know you hate to leave, Sergeant, but we really must go.
Leaving so soon, Charlie?
Hello, Monica. Yes, we were just going.
Oh, you can't go yet. I've been looking for you all over. Let's go someplace we can talk. You will excuse us for a moment, won't you?
I hope this won't take too long, Monica. I can't keep the commissioner waiting.
It's just like old times. Nothing matters but your work.
Let's have a drink.
Good idea. Do you remember the day we got married?
Of course I do.
This room reminds me of our marriage. Drab, barren, lifeless, unused.
I was the one who wanted children, Monica.
Children. Ha! You're interested in nothing but being a cop.
Let's not go into all that again, please, Monica.
Why? Because you have to go? Well, it's always been you, Charlie, hasn't it? Everything's always been more important to you than I. Well, go. Go on, leave. Leave me, just like you did last time.
You're the one who went, Monica.
I left because I had a career waiting for me, all the world waiting. Only without you, you know what they did to me. They didn't want my talent. Without you to protect me, they turned me into a tramp, Charlie. And when they were finished with me, they locked me up in a mental hospital for 3 years. 3 years!
I'm sorry, Monica. I didn't know.
Aunt Monica, Uncle Charlie, please open the door.
Every day. Every day when I was there, I thought about you, Charlie. I thought you'd come. I thought you'd get me, Charlie. You were too busy playing policeman. Cop of the year. Big shot cop of the year. A guy like you can be destroyed, too. You are not that safe.
Monica, you need a doctor.
I've seen doctors. Doctors can't help me. I have to help myself. How would you like to be alone, abandoned, have everyone point an accusing finger at you? I live for the day, Charlie, when you'll know what I've been through.
Monica, what are you talking about?
The cells, the bars, the disgrace, especially the disgrace. I want you to know the hell I've lived all these years.
Monica!
God, no, don't. Please, don't kill me. Please, don't kill me. Oh!
She's dead.
Stay out, everybody. Sally, call a doctor.
Dr. Thursby.
Stay back, please. Stay back. Get me an ambulance. Hurry.
What happened?
Somebody shot her.
This gun's been fired. One shot.
I didn't fire it, Commissioner.
I was wrong about you, Charlie. I just didn't believe you had it in you.
I didn't shoot her. Doesn't anybody believe me?
All right, let's go over it once more.
We've been over it and over it, Commissioner. I've told you everything.
Are you sure there isn't anything you've forgotten?
Well, if there is, I've forgotten it.
Well, it just doesn't make any sense. Nobody could have gotten in or out of that room.
Haven't you forgotten something, sir?
What's that?
You haven't booked your principal suspect.
Don't be so anxious, Charlie. I don't want your record to show you were booked for murder if we can avoid it. Let's wait until we get the ballistics report.
I appreciate that, sir, but anybody else would have been booked by now as routine procedure.
Well, if it'll make you feel any better, I'll book you.
Well, I don't mean to sound pushy, sir.
Well, let's wait for that ballistics report, okay? I can't believe that bullet was fired from your gun.
Then how do you explain the fact that my gun had just been fired? I mean, if I didn't do it.
Sergeant, whose side are you on anyway?
I am on yours, sir.
Good. When was the last time you fired your gun?
This morning at target practice. That's how I know the paraffin test will be positive.
Commissioner? Well, maybe I better come back when the commissioner's not quite so busy, or perhaps you could come to the lab, Commissioner, or maybe we could meet in a coffee shop.
Whatever you have to say, Sykes, you can say it in front of me.
Do you want me to read all that, Sykes, or do you want to tell me?
Everything's right there, Commissioner. Every question is answered right there.
Come on, say it, Sykes. Just say it.
Well, of course, we all knew the paraffin test would show positive.
Go on.
Sorry, Sergeant. The bullet that killed the deceased came from your gun.
Are you sure, Sykes?
Positive. Look for yourself. Check the gun filings, the barrel of the gun, the whirls, the swirls. We've never run a double check quite like this one. There's no mistake, none.
You do a good job, Sykes.
Yeah. I'm afraid so, Sergeant.
It still doesn't make any sense.
Well, you'll just have to book me now, Commissioner. Sergeant? I don't have anybody to call. "15 years in a cardboard box, and it all fits." Those pictures aren't mine. They were hanging there when I first came to the office. I never did like them. Thanks for posting the bond for me, sir.
That's one of the few things I can do, Sergeant. Look who's still waiting. I thought you were going home in a taxi.
Do you realize how many men have tried to pick me up while I was waiting? Right in front of the police station. You know what I needed, Sergeant, was a good cop.
You mean you've been sitting here all this time?
Yes, to give you a personal escort back to our house. I called Mildred. She's got macaroons in the oven. They're your favorite, aren't they, Sergeant?
Hey, that's a good idea. You can spend a night in the guest room and then in the morning have one of Mildred's breakfasts.
Well, that's very kind of Mildred and of you, but not tonight, thanks. I'll see you at the arraignment in the morning. Good night.
Good night, Charlie.
Good night, Sergeant.
Sergeant Charles Enright, special officer assigned to Police Commissioner Stuart McMillan, was booked within the hour for the murder of his former wife, Monica Fontaine. Sergeant Enright was the recipient of the city's top police honor, the Policeman of the Year award, just 2 nights.
Well, Sergeant, what luck finding you home. I was afraid I might be stuck in the neighborhood for a couple of hours by myself.
Oh? How's that, sir?
Well, I decided to try that all-night service station you're always recommending so highly. They're greasing my car.
Well, would you like me to give you a ride home?
Well, I thought I'd wait here, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. But I don't think I'm likely to be very good company tonight.
Drink up. After a couple of beers, we'll both be better company.
Well, sir, if you're going to stay here, why don't you tell that other man to go home?
What other man?
The one outside, watching me. And you might tell him he's not doing a very good job. I spotted him when I was unlocking the front door.
Sergeant, I didn't assign anybody to watch you.
You didn't?
No. And I don't see anybody either. Are you sure you did?
Well, I know surveillance when I see it. Look, Commissioner, if you didn't assign somebody, who did?
Oh. By the way, got some good news for you. Mike Bolger has decided to defend you.
Mike Bolger.
Well, at least you could say his name with a smile on your face.
Commissioner, I can't afford his kind of defense.
We can't afford anything but his kind of defense. Mike Bolger hasn't lost a case since 1946.
Well, here goes his record.
Mac, can I talk to you for a minute?
Sure.
I've been up with this case all night, and I think the only chance we've got is for him to plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter. That way, we might be able to get him off with 1.5 years. As a matter of fact, with his record, I'm sure of it.
You want him to plead guilty?
Look, Mac, at my prices, I could stretch this one out so that even I couldn't afford me. Let's get it over with and save everybody.
Well, Mike, he's innocent.
All right, sounds fine. But remember, if he's pronounced not innocent, he'll get 20 years to life.
All rise. His Honor, Judge Clement Williams presiding.
I suppose, Sergeant, you are aware of the charges against you?
Sergeant Enright is aware of the charges, Your Honor.
Very well. And how do you plead, Sergeant?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Since we're dealing with a case where a man's reputation is at stake, I'm sure everyone is most anxious for an early preliminary hearing. We'll therefore set that hearing for 1 week from tomorrow, if there are no objections.
No objections, Your Honor.
Will you set bail at this time, Your Honor?
No. The court will wait until after the preliminary hearing before entertaining any decision on bail.
May I address the court, Your Honor?
State your name and what capacity you wish to address the court.
Stuart McMillan, I am here as amicus curiae, Your Honor.
And for what purpose, Commissioner?
Your Honor, Detective Sergeant Charles Enright has served as special officer attached to the police commissioner for as long as I've held the post. I can attest to his outstanding character. His record will verify him to be one of the best men in our entire department. Prior to this incident, he was without blemish. In view of these facts, I'm asking the court to reconsider its position in refusing to set bail at this time.
I appreciate your interest, Commissioner. However, I remain reluctant to set bail because this is not only a capital case, but one which has already received an unusual amount of publicity.
Your Honor, let me assure the court that I will personally assume full responsibility for Charles Enright.
Are you prepared to post bond at this time?
I am. I have a bail bondsman with me.
Very well. Set bail at $100,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I know what you're doing, Commissioner. You're going after a whitewash, but it's not going to get you anywhere. I know how you cops stick together. You hired Bolger, you posted bond, and you'll do everything you can to get your friend off. But it won't work, Commissioner, because I won't accept anything but justice.
Neither will I. So what's your interest in the case?
My name's Alex Fontaine. I'm Monica's brother.
Well, I appreciate your desire for justice, Mr. Fontaine, so I'll forget what you just said, because it sounds an awful lot like a threat.
Don't forget it, Mr. Commissioner. Think about it a lot. Because if the law doesn't get Charlie Enright, I will. And no one, you included, is going to stop me.
Alex Fontaine is a former Green Beret, skilled marksman, and an expert in karate.
Well, he sounds like a walking weapon. Can't you arrest him for making threats like that?
Only if he puts it in writing and mails it.
Why don't you send him a self-addressed stamped envelope? You don't think he'll really try and hurt Sergeant Enright, do you?
Well, I'm worried enough to put a tail on him. And Enright.
Okay, what's the matter with the food?
Nothing.
Well, now listen, fasting isn't going to help anybody. Come on, Commissioner. At least enjoy your new terrace. Even though it did cost you more than it's worth. What's money, right?
Mildred, we were talking about Sergeant Enright.
Oh, yeah. Well, we all love him. But let's face it, he's done for.
Mildred!
Well, facts are facts. Who else killed her? I love him, and I'll miss him.
Mildred, he had no reason to kill her. He had no motive.
Oh, come on, Mrs. McMillan. There was motive all over that room. 15 years of bad marriage.
That's exactly my point, Mildred. Nobody kills his ex-wife after 15 years.
Look, don't waste time convincing me. Concentrate on the jury. Me? I love the guy.
She's just like a jury, isn't she? That's the way they're gonna be.
I'm afraid so. It just wasn't so airtight. There's got to be a flaw somewhere.
My father said there are no perfect crimes.
Yeah, just unsolved ones.
What exactly are you looking for, sir?
Anything unusual, Jensen. Anything unusual.
There's not much hope, sir. There's just no way anybody could have gotten into or out of this place. It's too bad. You know, Enright is a pal of mine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And a great cop. But I knew Monica from the old days. Of course, a guy doesn't like to tell a buddy, but she had a track record when he married her. If you get my meaning.
You make it very clear.
Of course, I guess she had it coming to her. It's just too bad Enright didn't plan it better.
I can't help it. Everything incriminates him. There's just no doubt about it. This bullet came from Enright's gun. Now, here's the autopsy report. Look at it. Just look at it. Take a look. Everything incriminates him. You don't know how badly I wanted to be wrong on this one, Commissioner, but you know me. I don't make mistakes. I'm just so thorough. I even checked her dress. Do you know why? There was a thread fragment on the bullet. I checked the thread to see if it matched the threads on the dress. It does. There's no question about it. I feel as though I'm convicting the sergeant single-handedly.
Sykes.
What?
Wait a minute. Take a look at this.
I've already examined it.
The hole's jagged.
So?
Enright uses round-bore bullets.
You're right, Commissioner. This should be a round hole. In fact, any bullet should make a round hole. Now, that's really very interesting. Let me look at this. Now, that's definitely jagged. Commissioner, this hole should not be jagged.
Check the wound again. Blood type. Check everything.
How can this hole be jagged? It can't be jagged. Yet it is jagged. Now, that's really very interesting.
What would make a jagged hole instead of a round hole?
It's not much of a clue, is it, sir?
Yeah, but it's something, Charlie. This is the first thing we found that raises a question. Up until now, everything we found incriminates you. But now we have something that's out of the ordinary. Something that indicates Monica couldn't have been killed the way she seems to have been killed.
Do you think a jury will buy it?
No, I don't think a jury will buy it, but it's a beginning. Ooh, corn and boiled potatoes. Why can't I ever convince Sally to have the both? You expecting company?
No, sir. I just love to cook. Only when I'm on duty, I don't have time to cook or to eat. Now I have plenty of time, and I'm not hungry, and this isn't a very good location for a restaurant.
Yeah, well, now that we've gotten our first break, everything will fall into place.
You really call this a break, sir?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I appreciate you stopping by like this, but a jagged hole in a dress isn't going to mean anything to anybody but us.
Do you happen to remember why you won the Cop of the Year award?
Yes, I do. I cracked the Levinson case.
And how did you do that?
I finally found a clue.
And now you found the clue to the Fontaine case.
It's nothing.
It's a clue.
It is something. You're right. First clue on the Levinson case wasn't much bigger. You care to join me, Commissioner?
I thought you'd never ask.
.3:30, reception begins. 4:03, Enright arrives. 4:06, Enright greeted by Vicky and Ted. 4:12, Fontaine talks to Enright. 4:20, McMillans arrive. 4:23, Dr. Thursby introduced. 4:26, Monica asks Enright to enter locked room. 4:28, Monica and Enright enter room. 4:36, shot is heard. 4:37, McMillan enters room. Monica shot. Enright, gun in hand. 4:38, Dr. Thursby examines Monica, calls for ambulance. 4:57, Monica, Dr. Thursby enter ambulance. 5:26, Monica operated on, pronounced dead at hospital by Dr. Wilson. And it just doesn't get us anywhere.
Well, we'll just have to keep going over it and over it and over it.
We've been going over and over and over it, and no matter where we start, it always ends up the same. I'm the only person who could have killed her. I'm having a hard time convincing myself that I didn't.
You know, Sergeant, what we haven't done is give enough thought to the other witnesses.
What other witnesses? Monica and I were alone.
Yeah, you were alone. She was shot, yes, but not afterwards.
I don't see what you're getting at, sir.
Neither do I. Except look at Dr. Thursby. He enters our sequence of events here, when you bumped into him as you were leaving. Continues on through the sequence, only until here at the hospital.
How does that help us?
It's our second inconsistency. Thursby's a doctor, right? He examined Monica at the scene of the shooting, was with her in the ambulance, but not in the hospital. Now, it's standard procedure that a doctor who assumes a patient in stress never leaves the patient. He never even waited until she was operated on. He just disappeared.
That's right, sir.
What do you know about him?
I met him at the reception. That's it.
Then I think we should find somebody who knows this Dr. Thursby.
Sergeant Enright, Commissioner. Oh, come on in.
We're sorry to disturb you on your honeymoon.
Oh, that's all right. You're not disturbing us.
Of course not. Hello, Uncle Charlie. Commissioner, can we get you some coffee? Here, let me pour you some.
No, thank you. Your breakfast just arrived, so go ahead and enjoy it.
Oh, dear, I'm afraid the coffee's cold. Ted, will you order some?
No, thanks. We just had a big lunch.
Oh. Well, we're just about to order lunch ourselves. Somehow we never got around to breakfast. Well, you know how slow room service is. You're hungry when you order it, but by the time it gets here, you're on to something else.
We'd like to ask you a couple of questions about Dr. Thursby.
Dr. Thursby?
Monica's friend. We hadn't met him ourselves until the reception.
Do you know if he was the only doctor at the wedding?
Yes, he was. That's funny. Monica asked the same question.
I want an APB on Dr. Felix Thursby, probably of Los Angeles.
You know, sir, for the first time, I think we're on to something.
Good.
But what?
Well, Charlie, I sure thought you'd be in jail by now.
I'm out on bail, Mr. Fontaine. And I didn't kill her.
Oh, sure you didn't. Oh, say, would you get me that magazine with the pretty blonde on the cover?
I'm glad to see you're taking your daughter's death so well, Mr. Fontaine.
Oh? Well, my daughter died the day she married your friend here. Thank you.
What do you know about the man she was with at the reception, this Dr. Thursby?
Well, I know he's not a cop, and that's enough for me.
Are you sure he's a doctor? He left her at the hospital, never even bothered to check on her again.
Did he really? Well, that doesn't surprise me. Poor Monica, she never has had much luck with the men in her life. As for his being a doctor, I was talking with him at the reception about my son's radius. Alex broke his radius skiing. and it never healed right. Thursby thought I was sewing about a leg bone. How's that for a dummy, huh?
You know where he lives?
Well, they was staying at the Lamplighters. I doubt he'd be there alone now. Monica was picking up the tab.
Movie star scrapbook. Interesting hobby for a man your age.
Yeah, isn't it? You know, actually, I picked this up from my wife. She and Monica used to paste these things in by the hour, with her telling Monica all the time someday it'd be her. Well, who knows? Maybe one of the newspapers will print a nice little obit picture. If they do, I'll paste it in somewhere near the back. Why not?
Well, don't you see?
I haven't looked.
What? Oh, you're right. Take a look. Gunpowder grains all around the hole in the dress. They couldn't have been made by a gun 20 feet away. That does it.
Does what?
Breaks the case. If Enright were across the room, he couldn't have killed her.
Sykes.
It's as simple as that.
Sykes, the prosecution will tell the jury she was shot at close range and fell back due to the impact.
Sorry, Sergeant. I tried.
But I was 20 feet away.
I believe you.
Commissioner, they told me you were here. Hello, Enright.
What is it?
Well, go ahead, Chapman. How much worse can it get?
You've been saying there's no motive. I believe I found one.
Motive? For me to kill her? What motive?
Sergeant, did you take out an insurance policy on your wife when you were first married?
Yes, I did.
Do you continue to make yearly payments?
Yes, I do.
Are you the beneficiary to the tune of $50,000?
I am.
A policy a man has made payments on for 15 years after being divorced. On the life of a woman who hated him. Would you call that motive, Commissioner?
That is a retirement policy for when she reaches 60. I kept up the payments because I felt that I owed it to her. So that she'd have something when she reached old age. I'd forgotten it had a death benefit. I really had.
You were the surgical nurse during the operation when Miss Fontaine died.
Yes.
Is this the bullet that was removed from the deceased?
It is, yes.
How can you be certain?
Well, I marked and tagged it right here.
Thank you, Miss Summers. No more questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
The witness may step down.
I call Police Commissioner Stuart McMillan.
Raise your right hand. State your name, please.
Stuart McMillan.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
I do.
truth, so help you God?
As you're aware, Commissioner, we have substantiated that the deceased was killed by this bullet. The attending doctor verified this was the bullet removed from the deceased's body. The attending surgical nurse just corroborated that testimony. Would you please tell us if you recognize this gun?
I can.
Whose is it?
Sergeant Charles Enright.
And where were you at the time of the shooting?
In the next room.
What did you hear from the murder room? Would you please tell us that?
The shot.
No. Before the shot. Isn't it true that you heard Sergeant Enright and the deceased arguing?
Objection. The district attorney is leading the witness.
Your Honor, I withdraw the question. I certainly wouldn't want to lead the commissioner into anything. Commissioner, would you please tell us in your own words what you heard before the shot?
A voice.
Coming from the murder room?
Yes.
Whose voice?
The deceased.
How would you describe that voice? Happy, angry, frightened?
He's asking for a conclusion, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I can substantiate any conclusion the commissioner might have with a dozen other witnesses. move on to the next question. Would you tell us what did you hear coming from the room before the shot?
I heard the deceased scream.
Scream what? Were there words?
Yes.
Would you please repeat them to the court?
Oh, God, no. Don't. Please don't kill me.
Would you please repeat them again a little louder?
Oh, God, no. Please don't. Don't kill me.
She screamed them.
Yes.
Pleading for her life.
Objection. Sustained.
Now, Commissioner, would you tell us what you saw and what you did after the shot?
I broke through the locked door. Sergeant Enright was standing with a pistol in his hand. The deceased was lying on the floor some 20 feet away. I took the gun from the sergeant, smelled it. It had recently been fired. And there was an empty cartridge in the chamber.
And this gun? The gun that ballistics has already proven fired the bullet. Is this the gun you took from Sergeant Enright?
Yes. It has my initials on the tag.
Was Sergeant Enright alone in the room with the deceased?
Yes.
And what did your subsequent investigation prove? Could anyone else have entered that room and fired the shot? Or could that shot have been fired from outside the room?
No. Neither could have been possible.
People rest, Your Honor.
The witness may step down. Does the defense wish to present any witnesses at this hearing?
No, Your Honor. Not at this time.
Then I order Charles Enright remanded to court for trial on the 12th day of March, 1973.
Your Honor, what about bail?
The evidence being as strong as it is, I shall have to reconsider whether bail will continue. We will speak in chambers later.
It's not fair. It's just not fair that Sergeant Enright should be in jail. What did the judge think? That he was going to run away?
Well, you can't say the good sergeant didn't know what the consequences would be when he shot her. Oh, I'm not condemning him. She probably had it coming. I just wish she'd done a better job of planning it, that's all.
Don't stand on ceremony, Mildred. Pour yourself a drink.
Well, maybe just a quick one. Take my mind off the spinach souffle. I always get so nervous waiting for it to rise.
Maybe I should go out and watch it. At least it would take my mind off of Sergeant Enright.
Well, at least with the souffle, there's some suspense involved. I mean, we all know Sergeant Enright did it, poor man.
Mildred, how can you say a thing like that?
Well, you caught him red-handed at it, didn't you? When Inspector Gerard had to investigate a locked room murder, there was nobody in the room, just the body. I mean, Sergeant Enright let you catch him at it.
Who's Inspector Gerard?
Oh, you know those ghastly murder mysteries that Mildred's always reading.
There is nothing ghastly about Inspector Gerard. Surely I've mentioned him to you, Commissioner. Lives alone with his faithful housekeeper, and maybe there's something going on between the two of them, but we're never quite sure.
Oh, of course I remember, Mildred. I can't imagine it slipping my mind.
Mildred, how can you read those things? Don't they give you nightmares?
No, the newspapers do. I mean, no offense to the Commissioner, but all those unsolved crimes.
Tell me, Mildred, in any of those books you read, does the faithful housekeeper ever get murdered?
Well, as a matter of fact, in The Rooster Cried Wolf, the upstairs maid was witness to a murder, and the chauffeur had to kill her to seal her lips forever.
I know the feeling.
Well, you see, in that one...
Mildred, you know, I'm getting a little nervous about that spinach souffle. Maybe you better go out and give it a check.
Okay. Maybe after dinner. over a brandy. I'll tell you how Inspector Gerard solved his locked room murder.
I wonder if the good inspector ever resorts to locking his faithful housekeeper in the basement.
I don't know. A locked room murder. That's when no one's in the room but the victim and the door's locked, right?
Right, except in our case it's a victim and someone who didn't do it, Charles Enright. If we could just get the sequence in a different order, we might be onto something.
You mean if what we saw and heard wasn't really what we saw and heard in the order that we saw and heard them?
You have a wonderful way of clarifying things, yeah.
Well, first we heard Monica arguing. Then we heard a shot. No, then we heard a scream, and then we heard a shot.
Then I broke into the room and Charles Enright was standing with a gun in his hand.
Then you told me to call for a doctor, and I called for Dr. Thursby. He examined her and he called for an ambulance.
The ambulance took her to a hospital where she died later on of a bullet wound.
This never gets us anywhere. It's a dead end every time. Poor Sergeant Enright.
Well, we know one thing. Monica's dead, and that means somebody wanted her dead.
Commissioner, I'm convinced that the hole in this dress was not made by a bullet, but by something that left gunpowder grains like a bullet. If you'll notice, a bullet fired into the fabric will leave a hole something of this nature, or perhaps this nature, or possibly this nature. I fired bullets from 12 different guns into the fabric, and not one bullet has left a hole that was jagged.
Very good. What do you think did make the hole?
Not a bullet.
What?
Well, whatever is not a bullet.
Well, what?
Hello, Mac.
Chapman.
Hi, Sarge.
Chapman.
Here are all the facts that we've been able to gather on the case so far. Maybe something in it may help.
Thanks.
But if ever I'm handed an ironclad case, I'm afraid this is the one.
You should stop sounding quite so sure of yourself. Stand a better chance if we could locate this Dr. Thursby.
I've just added 6 extra investigators to the case. By the way, I recommended that Enright be released on bail pending trial. Maybe you can help.
Got the feeling I'm going to owe you a drink.
You know, this is going to be the first time I've ever won a case from you. I won't even feel like celebrating.
Don't worry. I'll think of something to keep you from marring your record.
Since we got nothing from the florist, the photographer, and the caterer, what do you hope to find here?
Anything. We'll settle for anything today.
Oh, yes, I handled the Fontaine wedding, and I am delighted that you were impressed enough to inquire, but then, of course, that's how I get most of my business.
Sorry, Mr. Davidson, but we're not here as customers.
Oh?
We're police.
Oh.
I'd like to talk to you about the Fontaine wedding.
Well, as a matter of fact, this is going to work out very well, gentlemen, because I have been wanting to talk to someone about that little affair myself. Would you honor me by coming this way, please? You see, the damage was unbelievable right through here, gentlemen. I haven't finished taking my inventory yet, but, well, as you can see, there were broken dishes and, well, there's your torn linen. And the insurance man was just here, and I showed him this, and he just couldn't believe it. Oh, they're going to pay all right, but they'll cancel my policy. You know that, don't you? Oh, and look. Gentlemen, this happens to be a first.
First what?
Well, a first for destroying pillows. A first place. Some fool must have been smoking cigars 2 at a time. I mean, just look at that hole right there.
It's on both sides.
Oh, sure. It's burned all the way through. And this is a feather pillow, the very best of down.
What's the damage?
Oh, on the Fontaine wedding, I'd say about several $100s. In fact, it's the last time I'm going to cater to the Irish. You're not Irish, are you?
I'm talking about the pillow.
Oh, the pillow is irreparable. I mean, it's a total loss.
I said how much?
How much? You want to buy it? Well, all right, $20. $20. How about 20? I mean, as you can see, most of the down is still in it. Thank you, sir, very much. I couldn't interest you in a tablecloth, could I? I mean, at best I can see this would spend a couple of hours in the powder room, but if your hang-up is damaged goods, you might just love it. Oh, they're very strange people.
Gunpowder burns? Let's hope so. Or I'm out $20 for a $2 pillow. You know, Sergeant, I've got one of those very funny feelings.
Well, why don't you go your way? I'll go mine. Looking for me, Alex? Or are you on the way to target practice?
Think I'm looking for a chance to shoot Charlie, Commissioner? I've already had it. All I had to do was pull the trigger, and it would have been bye-bye Charlie.
But you didn't pull it.
He's still alive, isn't he?
Look, suppose I keep you informed, step by step, as this case progresses. In return, no vendetta against Charles Enright.
Sure. I give justice a chance, why not? But if I have to, I'll also give it a helping hand.
You were absolutely correct, sir. A bullet was fired into this pillow.
Which explains how they could have gotten the bullet out of Enright's gun.
Right, Commissioner. The gunpowder burns on the pillow you brought in match almost perfectly with the second pillow. Approximately the same residue on each.
Good work, Sykes.
Thank you, sir. I went to the rental place myself, you know, for the second pillow. I wanted to buy it, of course, but the guy there said, no, we don't sell them, we only rent them. I said, well, that's okay, but you're not going to be too happy with it when I bring it back. And he said, well, if they're not happy with it when you bring it back, you're going to have to pay for it. I said, that's what I'm trying to do right now. And he said, nope, we only rent them. Got a receipt here somewhere for it. I don't know if I don't find that receipt, I'm not going to get my deposit back from that guy. Unless you'll vouch for me.
Mac, I'm afraid I still have a pretty strong case.
Not at all. The bullet in the pillow proves somebody wanted to frame Enright. I thought they were going to fix it.
If that bullet had been put in another gun and fired, it would have changed the ballistics markings. Now, how could they avoid being changed?
Well, now there's progress for you. You're asking questions now instead of providing all the answers.
It's because I've got an awful lot of questions.
And I'm convinced the answers are somewhere in Monica's past.
You may be right, but most of her past is in Hollywood.
Commissioner, I have your reservations. Your flight to Los Angeles leaves at 4:02.
Thank you.
Do you know what just finally dawned on me? If somebody wanted to kill Monica, then why did they wait until she was in a room with Sergeant Enright, a police officer?
You mean someone wanted to implicate him?
Well, that would mean that the motive wasn't just to kill Monica, but to try and destroy Sergeant Enright.
I got a puzzle for you. Suppose someone got a bullet out of Enright's gun and killed Monica with it.
How could they do that without changing the ballistic markings?
You sound like Chapman. Now, there are many ways it could be done, but what I don't understand is how it could be done in front of a smart professional officer like Sergeant Enright and with no one else in the room. See if you can figure that out while I'm away, okay?
Okay. If I get it, I'll call you collect. You know, I'm gonna miss you.
Wasn't necessary to get a court order, Commissioner. I'm only too glad to cooperate.
Thank you.
Monica Fontaine's hatred of her husband was extreme and unreasonable. She blamed him for everything. Her failure as an actress, her breakdown, even her unsuccessful love affairs. Scotch, Commissioner?
Well, thank you.
Over the last couple of years, her hatred of him became an obsession.
Were you able to help her any?
Not really, because she didn't really want help. She came to me to avoid being locked up in a mental institution again. She feared that more than anything. She blamed it on her husband. Her fantasy was that someday he'd be punished as much as she felt she had been. Sorry, there's no eyes.
Well, that's all right. Was he the only one she wanted to see punished, or were there others?
Oh, yes. She wanted to hurt in some way any man she'd ever been in contact with. She'd been a patient with me for about 3 years. She blackmailed a producer into paying for the sessions. Seemed to enjoy having blackmailed him. Gave her a feeling of power.
Then there might well be someone in this file who wanted her dead.
Possibly. But why go to the trouble of killing her? She had less than 6 months to live anyway. Cancer. I see you didn't know that.
No. Doctor, if she were dying, would it be possible for her to plan her own death and also use it to destroy your ex-husband?
Yes. She was capable of that. In fact, it would fit into her neurotic pattern rather well.
All right, cut. Print it. All right, let's move in for the close-ups.
Mr. Seaton, this is Stuart McMillan, police commissioner from San Francisco. Mr. McMillan, George Seaton.
How do you do, sir?
Hello, Commissioner.
I appreciate you taking the time, Mr. Seaton.
Oh, not at all. It's always a pleasure to have a little law and order on the set.
Yes, I was watching your shootout. What's the name of the film?
Showdown.
Well, it looks like the real thing. Except, of course, in my business, they don't usually get up again.
Yes, but directing a Western's a bit like playing God. You keep bringing them back to life. And nothing brings an actor back to life faster than a call for a close-up.
Well, how do you make it look like a man's been hit by a bullet?
Well, there are tiny explosive charges that are fitted under the actor's clothes. They explode outward, and this helps to prevent any body burns. And a small pouch of fake blood is released by the explosion. It looks fatal, but nobody gets hurt.
I think I know of a case where someone did. Could I talk to your special effects man, Whitey Dobson, for a moment?
Well, of course. Whitey! Whitey, come here. Whitey, this is Commissioner McMillan from San Francisco. He'd like to ask you a few questions and find out how you do it. Now, if you'll excuse me, Commissioner, I've got some work to do over here.
Thank you, Mr. Seaton.
What can I do for you, Commissioner? You want to see a few tricks?
No, first I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, Whitey. Did you ever know Monica Fontaine?
Monica? Oh, yeah, I knew her.
Would you mind telling me a little bit about her?
Well, I haven't seen Monica in about 5 years now. When she first come out here, well, she couldn't get a job as an actress. I got a job as a stunt girl. I taught her the whole business. After she learned everything I could teach her, why, she dumped me.
What was she like?
Oh, she was mean. Violent. Why, she almost brained me one time. Oh, if Monica hated you, look out. Me, I wasn't important enough for her to hate. She wasn't even blackmailing me.
Quiet, please. This is a take.
Excuse me, I have to shoot a man.
Roll 'em.
Ready? Action! All right, cut it, print it.
Whitey, would it be possible for a man to set the detonator off himself instead of you having to do it from here?
Why, sure. We rig self-detonators on actors all the time.
Well, how would you set it off?
Well, the most common way is to rig it so he just raises his hands, you know?
Yes, she raised her hand. In fact, that's why I thought that somebody else had just come into the room.
Then that's how she detonated it.
But, Mac, she was shot.
With a bullet from my gun.
Suppose that came later. Suppose the initial gunshot, the one in the locked room, was fake. Which is, of course, the only way it could have happened if the good sergeant had his gun in his holster at the time. Then, after faking the gunshot, Monica was examined by the only doctor in attendance. A doctor she brought with her for that very purpose.
But what about the wiring she would have had to wear to fake a gunshot? Nothing was found at the hospital.
Because nothing was on her by the time she got to the hospital. Dr. Thursby removed all the wiring in the ambulance and stashed it in his medical bag.
Then she had to be killed in the ambulance.
And there goes your theory, Mac. Poof. Because if we follow your theory to its logical conclusion, the only place that bullet could have been introduced was in the ambulance, right?
Right.
Now, you're telling me that she was shot in the ambulance with Enright's gun, which by then was already in your possession, which might explain why the ambulance attendants didn't hear the shot.
She wasn't killed by Enright's gun. She was killed by a bullet from Enright's gun, which was obtained by firing the gun into that pillow.
What kind of a weapon was used to fire the bullet into her body? The grooves on the bullet indicate beyond a doubt that they were fired only from Enright's gun.
I don't know how it was done yet, but I'm convinced the bullet from Enright's gun was fired in that ambulance.
All right. Even if I go along with that, which I don't, you still haven't explained how they got the gun. The sergeant himself says it was never out of his possession.
I'll prove it was out of his possession once we find Thursby.
We've looked everywhere. There just isn't any Dr. Thursby.
Right. And I doubt if his name is Thursby, and I doubt if he's even a doctor.
Well, then we'll never find him.
Now, what do we know about him?
Nothing.
Wrong. We know Monica had to have an accomplice for her to carry out her plan.
You mean somebody to pose as a doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, maybe the man's an actor.
No, I doubt that. Taking the gun out of a police sergeant's holster isn't that easy. Something that requires a very special talent.
Welcome, Commissioner. You can have your choice of tables at this hour.
I'm not here to eat, Alonzo. I need your help.
Anytime. You know that. I owe you one. In fact, I owe you two.
Who's the best finger man in this part of the country? Make it the whole country.
Hi, Commissioner. I have no idea. I've been out of the business a long time. Now, if I could help you, I would. You know that.
Good. You gotta keep that in mind when you look at this picture.
I really wish I could help you. But you know how it is with pictures. They all look alike.
Yeah. Well, what about this picture? Make it any easier? It's one of your favorites, isn't it?
Benjamin Franklin. That's a sure good likeness.
And what about the other fella?
His name is Thompson, but he's legit now. He's been out of the business as long as I have.
Where is he?
Vegas, probably. The last thing I heard was that he had an act there. Small time, but it keeps him alive.
Thank you, Alonzo. You just helped save a man's life.
Anything for a pal.
And Ben Franklin.
Is this yours? Yes, your wallet, sir. Yes, and your keys? Oh, keys. Say, is this your glass case here? That's right. Uh-huh. One more thing. Is this your handkerchief? What a sweet-smelling one, huh? All right, sir, you can take your seat now, if you think it's still there. Did you forget these, sir? Huh? Here, pull up your pants. You look like a slob. Let's take this off. Here, I'll help you with your suspenders. That's all right. Here, pull up your pants, for heaven's sake. You're in public. I'll help you with your suspenders. You put on the long ones, I'll put on the short ones. There we go. All right, reach right over there. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Here, put your jacket on. We'll have you back to your table in an hour and a half. All right. There we are. All right. Uh-oh. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking what they're thinking. You're thinking I took your wallet again. Is that right, sir? Is it still there?
Yes, it seems to be, yeah.
Everything seems to be in its proper place.
Same place,
right,
yeah.
All right. Now, I haven't taken anything at all. Absolutely nothing this time.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's good. Are you absolutely sure, sir?
I'm positive.
All right. Well, then, on your way out, will you please try to avoid the maitre d'? You see, we have a rule here about wearing your undershorts at all times. All right. Let's have a hand for our volunteers. They've been a real sport. All right, now, one more volunteer, if you don't mind. Well, here's an eager customer. I haven't even said what I want you to volunteer for.
I was wondering if you could remove this gun from its holster without my knowing about it.
Well, we're a little late, folks. They'll be dancing in the parking lot.
I knew you'd figure it out. I told her we'd never get away with it. But she threatened to expose me. That's why I did it. Monica knew all about my past. I told her she was crazy. Our plan was just nuts. I wanted no part of it. But she insisted. She said if I didn't help her, that she'd go to the Vegas authorities. She'd tell them everything she knew about me. I'd never work again.
How did you shoot her? The marks on the bullet are from Enright's gun.
Fired the bullet from a zip gun. It has a smooth barrel. It doesn't leave any marks in the bullet.
You have to kill her.
I didn't kill her. I just held the gun. She pulled the trigger herself. That's how much she hated you.
Can you imagine hating someone so much that you'd plan your own murder just to frame them?
No. I can imagine loving someone so much that you'd die to save them. I guess that marriage just brings out the worst or the best in people.
Sometimes both at the same time. Did I ever tell you about my first husband?
First husband? I never knew about any husband.
What, you know you believed in marriage, Mildred?
I believe in anything, Commissioner, as long as it's with the right man.
Mildred, are you serious about having been married? You never mentioned it.
Everybody's entitled to a past, Mrs. McMillan.
Well, I hope my past is behind me.
Boy, I hope mine's still ahead of me.
Ooh, corn and potatoes. That's my favorite combination.
I figured it'd be the right thing for a working man, especially since Mrs. McMillan mentioned that the commissioner mentioned that you mentioned it was your favorite combination. Believe me, I would never have thought of it on my own.
Well, I haven't had a banquet like this since, since...
Since the last time.
Yeah. And speaking of corn, I'd just like to say... Well, I'd like to say that friends who'd stick with a man through all of this...
Well, Sergeant, why wouldn't we? Well, it never entered our minds that you were guilty.
Well, I just can't help thinking of where I'd be right now without you, and
Speaking of corn, Sergeant, why not eat it before it gets cold?